think I know that. I was not afraid of you. That part I did not lie about. She shook her head, her free hand taking hold of his wrist with her long, slender fingers. You scared me. I'm sorry, he said, trying not to smile. It was the exact wrong thing to do, but it was all his face wanted. She had been afraid for him. It was a step, a start. Stop looking triumphant, she warned. I'm trying, he admitted. Sighing, she let him go. I mean it. Just because I do not want you to end up in a jail cell or dead. That is hardly a confession for the ages. I'll take what I can get at this point, he said. At this point, Sophia scoffed. We have met twice. 3 times, he said, for now. And all you see is this, she told him, holding up the flowers. A bit of beauty, a bit of the exotic. You do not know the rest. The tending and the neediness. You glimpse me from a shop window and think you would like to have me. You would not. And I have no interest in being cut and arranged and shown off only to be left to wilt and die. He knew he should not let her go at him. He knew it. He did not care. Because that's what I would do, he agreed. Releasing her cheeks, he took a step back from her, because that's what I'm like. And there's no possibility that I'm different, is there? You know everything, don't you? That must be nice. I am not saying it is impossible, she told him. I am saying it is not worth the risk. Hurt swirled inside of him. She had angered him, she had even offended him. Until this moment she had not hurt him. Right, he said, of course not. Oh, stop it, she flared, when he did not. I hardly know you and you are asking me to put my well-being in your hands. I think not. You hardly know me and you have written me off entirely, he argued. And I swear if you keep doing that, Sophia, it's going to hurt you all the same. It'll be a slower death, I grant you that, but you won't survive it. I have a better chance of surviving that than surviving you, she all but spat at him. Because with you it would be worse. Do you not see that? You will lull me with your sturdiness and the way your siblings adore you and the way your parents count on you, and I will start to count on you too. And then you will realize that you do not want a woman like me. You do not want a dahlia. You want a pretty little rose, like your mother. He winced. What do you think, I have a mommy complex, or something? No, she said, but I think you will want the life your parents have and you will resent me for not being able to give it to you. He scoffed. Quite a thesis you've crafted after meeting me twice. I do not hear you denying it, she pointed out. She was right. He could not deny it because he had thought as much. Every time he thought of her he tried to remind himself of how she differed from what he had always wanted. Her hard edges and snappy retorts, all those complicated outfits, and the fact that she could not boil water. He reminded himself again and again and again that he had always known what he wanted his life to look like and she did not fit into the picture of it at all. JJ would find this hilarious. He loved being right. Joey would find this tragic. She was rooting for them. So just so I am clear, he said. This now has nothing to do with my being a football player. Now this is personal. You are objecting to me personally. Sophia's eyes flashed, and he reminded her, because apparently Trip is in your good books. That is not at all the same, she argued. But you will be his friend, he pointed out. I would be yours, too, if you would be mine, Sophia told him. She shrugged, but you do not want to be my friend. And I do not want to be yours. Fine, he said, ready to storm out. He paused though and said firmly, thank you for the other night. Both your kindness and discretion were appreciated by me and my family, and you were right. It was helpful, not having to hold it together with you, it helped me hold it together for her. So thank you. Of course, she nodded. Then, as he turned to leave, she asked, how is she? He shook his head, blinking back tears. He let out a sad, broken chuckle. You're right, Sophia. Not to put your trust in me. I wouldn't want to hurt you, but I would. My baby sister's heart is broken, and it's my fault. Geez, since the night we met I knew I was meant to protect her. I have tried so hard to protect her, and I failed. So maybe you're right. It probably isn't worth the risk. Will, Sophia started. He shook his head. You cannot be there to protect her every moment of her life. No, he agreed. And no one should have to protect her from him, she went on. He turned to look at her and she shook her head. He should not be a threat to her at all. He swallowed. Bridget. Sophia shook her head. She only confirmed it, and belly. Trip was a mess the other night. He could not understand. He knew that there had to be more to it than a man grabbing her, as violent as it was. He asked me to look into it. So I did. Where is he? He asked her. You know I am not going to tell you that, Sophia said. You know that, so do not ask me. Though. I cannot pretend I would not relish in his pain, knowing what I know. He looked at her. What do you know? Sophia's face hardened. That your mother was not the first, nor the last. That it is still going on, probably as we speak. Fear ran through his body at warp speed. He felt himself grow cold as his ears rung. Stop it, he said, stop it right now. Do not ask me to do that, Sophia argued. I am not asking you to do it. I am telling you to do it, he growled at her. Stop it now. Right now. He looked into the sunken living room, looking for a laptop, but saw nothing. Where is it? Will, Sophia protested. I mean it, Sophia. He started walking through her apartment, having no idea where he was going. Where is it? I want everything deleted. I want you to forget what you've seen and read. We'll take you to a damn hypnotist if that's what it takes. Stop it. Stop it this instant, Sophia ordered, her heels clomping on her hardwood floors as she latched onto his arm. He barely registered the resistance, and she slid across the floor as she held on tight. Will Stark, if you make me scratch these floors. Send me the fucking bill, Sophia. He tried to shrug her off, but her grip was vice-like. He could get out of it, but not without hurting her, and he wasn't going to risk that. Where is your laptop? They got into the kitchen, and both saw a laptop sitting on the counter at the exact same time. That belongs to Bridget. Sophia told him. You like Bridget, remember? I like you. Can you get that through that head of yours? He scoffed at her. I don't want you on his radar. I don't want you looking into this. Trip should have known better. He just wanted to know who it was. Sophia defended him. He had to know who it was. It was killing him. So I've heard, he all but spat. And what about you? What about you? Damn it, Sophia. We haven't had a chance to even talk about it, but I know an article between you and Joey is off the table because we don't want him getting any more information. That's an article in the Arts and Leisure. An expose on a fucking billionaire with a history of abusing women is front page news. He will catch it and kill it, or worse. He turned to look at her fully, and said, you have no idea what he is capable of. You don't know the half of it. Not yet, she agreed. But I know enough to know the rest of the world ought to know it too. You're right, he said, trying to keep himself calm. The rest of the world should know. You cannot be the one to tell them. He will come after you. Not if he is in jail, Sophia reasoned. Their eyes met and she said, the things I have learned already could put him there. No, he argued. You know better than that. The things he has done mean that he should go to jail, not that he will. And even if he did, he has every resource imaginable. More than enough to take care of you from a jail cell. But I'm telling you, it won't print. The paper will be sued. His team of lawyers, you can't imagine them. And Sophia lifted her chin. Go on. Say what you are really nervous about. Oh fuck you, he pulled out of her loosened grasp. I can't even look at you. He walked by her, towards the door. You know that it is true. Sophia called after him, and I cannot blame you for it. I will leave them out of it, I promise. Rage boiled over, and he turned around. How? She looked like she wanted to argue more, but she tightened her lips. Go on, tell me how. Because even if you did keep them out of the original article, sloppy journalism, though, they're soft, not to even approach his ex-wife for a comment. If this story ever sees the light of day, who do you think everyone else's first call will be to? Do you really think none of us thought of this over the years? Do you think Tywin Lannister didn't have a kill file, 2 different kinds, actually on him? If you do this, there is no way to keep it from my mom or from Joey. Sophia was silent for a moment, and he used that as an opportunity to grab his coat out of her hall closet. When he reached the door she said, "If I do not write this, and he hurts someone else, that is my fault." He stared at her for a moment, wondering if he could talk her out of it. She was resolute, though. He could see that. She had felt fervor for an opera house. Asking her to care less about a monster brazenly roaming the streets was almost laughable. Even still, he did not have the stomach for it. "Yeah, well, if you do this, Soph, and something happens to you, that's on me. You know, it's almost funny, all this time and effort you're putting into protecting your heart when you're risking the rest of you on this. And don't fool yourself. You're no martyr," he warned, opening the door, "you're just suicidal." Notes. Hope all who celebrated Thanksgiving had lovely ones. If you are enjoying this, I would love to hear from you. Chapter 10, Joey. Summary. Since it seemed like no one liked Sophia and Will arguing, here is 11,000 words of Joey and Trip *not* arguing. Chapter text. She lowered the lights, and then lifted them a bit until she was happy with the muted but not dim lighting in the room. A part of her wondered if she should light candles, but it seemed like overkill with the fireplace, when it was not seduction she was after. Not tonight, anyway. In truth, she had no idea how to seduce anyone, but she found comfort knowing that Trip would not need seduction, only permission. Looking down at herself, she could not help but laugh. No one would suspect her of trying to seduce anyone in her outfit: a pair of pale pink sweatpants with a white long-sleeved t-shirt and a pale grey sweater, a pair of white fuzzy socks and slippers rounding it all out. She had considered changing half a dozen times, but she had told Trip to dress cozy and it would be mean to not do the same. There were contrary desires inside of her. The one, pulling most strongly at the moment, was to be able to be like this with him. Dressed down, undone, comfortable. The other desire was to be desired. Maybe one day they would not be at odds with one another, she knew, thinking of her parents. But now in these early days, she was not sure how they couldn't be. Comfort was something to grow into. "But I felt it with him from the start," a quiet voice in her mind reminded her. Her phone buzzed and she saw that it was her front desk calling her. "Hello," she asked. "Miss Joey, there is a Trip Slade here to see you," one of the men at the front desk informed her. There was less wonder in the voice than there had been when he had arrived to pick her up a little over a week ago. Perhaps he had merely come around too many times since then for there to be any shock left in them. "Thank you, please send him up," she said. Taking one last look at her living room, she fluffed a pillow and then walked towards the front door. Though she tried to avoid it, her eyes caught on her reflection. She swallowed, fluffing her hair, trying to be kind to herself but struggling to do so. Her eyes had dark purple circles under them, her cheeks were wan, sunken almost like she lost too much weight in them too quickly. She looked old, haggard. Just as she was regretting everything, there was a knock on her door. She checked her peephole, seeing a distorted image of Trip, and then unlocked both locks and the latch before opening the door. "Oh my goodness," she could not help but laugh, "you look like one of those donkeys they make schlep things up the mountains." His arms were overflowing, she was not sure how he was holding everything in them. Nothing looked particularly heavy, but it was a lot nonetheless. Trip chuckled, "Have you seen them carrying those baby lambs in their little pockets? If not, I'll add it to my list of things to show you. Seems right up your alley." She giggled, "I have seen it and stop to look at it every time it comes up. They look so snuggled in." He grinned at her but she realized he was still standing outside her door still with overflowing arms. "Oh, I'm sorry, please come in, can I take anything or will it throw you off balance?" "It would be a gender situation for sure," Trip confirmed, stepping across her threshold. With his head he nodded down the hallway. "Is that the way to the kitchen?" "Oh, yes, please go ahead," she agreed. Closing the door behind him, she locked the door, only once. As she was walking by the mirror her eyes caught again. She looked like a different girl entirely. Still tired. Still in need of a good meal. But her eyes were brighter, her cheeks were rosier. Just a few moments with Trip had begun to correct the damage the last week had caused to her appearance. She could not help but wonder what a few hours in his presence could do for her less superficially. He had already made progress unloading when she got into the kitchen. He had set down a large white paper bag with the restaurant's logo on it on the counter. Next to it looked like a bouquet of flowers wrapped in brown wax paper. On the floor beside him was a reusable grocery bag, though she could not see what was inside it, and when he turned to her he offered the last thing he was carrying. Oh, she felt her heart swell, seeing him holding the rose gold brocade coat she had worn on their ill-fated date. I thought I had lost that for good. He shook his head. I should have given it to you last night, but I completely forgot. She swallowed. You didn't go back that night, did you? The idea of him having returned to the restaurant where Gadri was terrified her, even with the proof of him standing there, healthy and whole right in front of her. She did not want Trip on his radar any more than he already was, given that he had been the one to separate them. From what her mom had said, Gadri missed nothing, but she had hoped the shock of seeing her had distracted him slightly from her date. If Trip had gone back, there was no way Gadri would not have taken note. She was not sure how she knew for certain that Gadri had continued with his evening at the restaurant after seeing her, but she did. He had probably laughed the whole thing off. Made some comment about women all looking the same these days. No, Trip shook his head. I really wouldn't have trusted myself. But I went back the next day. Thankfully I had the token. He smiled at her and said, you take care of this. It's very dear to me. It is, she wondered. Teasing, I think pewter is more your color. He chuckled, it's my excuse. I brought it with me every time I dropped by here to justify my coming. You don't need an excuse, she almost told him. Instead she said, and still David wasn't buying it. He's good. Then she held it close to her, thank you. I don't think I would have been able to go back to get this myself, and I was beating myself up a bit over losing it. I am just going to go hang this up. Can I take your coat, too? Tonight he wore a navy blue parka, and when she took it from him it was still cold. She hung them both up in her front closet, and when she returned, Trip was pulling cartons of food out of the takeaway bag. Did you redesign the kitchen, or was it like this? Trip asked her. It was mostly like this, she answered, which was one of the primary reasons I chose this apartment. I knew I would spend a lot of time in the kitchen and I wanted it to be a place that me and my family would want to be. Trip smiled, reaching out and rubbing her back. Yeah, I can see that. He tugged her closer, turning her towards him. This is soft. The knuckles of his other hand ran down her sleeve. Her hands reached out and smoothed up his chest, her fingers brushing against his jaw. You don't need an excuse to touch me, she whispered. I'm not David. Trip giggled. It was such a refreshingly boyish noise to come out of such a large man that she could not help but giggle as well. His eyes wandered over her face. Joey. You are the most beautiful girl in the world. You know that, right? Oh, she blushed. Thank you, but... No, he shook his head. No buts. That wasn't even the main point I wanted to make, it was just a preamble. Oh, she smiled. Please proceed. Trip sighed, his hand raising from her arm to stroke her cheek. You look exhausted. I just wanted to make it clear before I said that how beautiful I know you are. I don't want you thinking it's a comment on anything other than the fact that I'm worried you had another sleepless night. Blushing, she nodded. It wasn't entirely sleepless. I even shut my light off for some of it. But I did not do very well. I'm so sorry, sweetheart, Trip offered with so much sincere sympathy it made her want to cry. I know how much more difficult that makes it to deal with everything else. A bit of a reinforcing pattern, huh? Swallowing, she agreed. Yes. It is. I'm trying, though. I thought, thinking about someone other than myself might help, so I went and helped out at my dad's foundation for a while today. I'm not sure I was as much fun as usual, but it did help to get myself out of my head for a little while. Trip stroked her hair. I think you're the only person I know who would have decided to go do that today. I'm glad it helped you a bit. She nodded and then asked, Trip. Yes, Joey. Would you, hug me, she asked pathetically. He looked for a moment like he might tease her, not meanly, but he seemed to think better of it all the same. Trip pulled her into his arms, and she breathed in his clean boy smell that was somehow already familiar to her, though she was just starting to know him. Closing her eyes, she burrowed her face in his chest, scrunching his sweatshirt in her hands. Gods, you're wound tight, Joe, he said as his hand stroked her back more purposefully. Can you feel that, sweetheart? No wonder you can't sleep. She felt it underneath his hand, that tightness. Instead of anything else, she focused on his smell, and the softness of his sweatshirt, and the way his hand moved so purposefully across her back. He hardly needed to move it to cover the whole thing. She was so small compared to him, he could cover her entirely. Hide her entirely. Slowly, she felt her body melt into his. That's better, he said, his nose at her temple. What is this shampoo? I want to eat your hair. She giggled in surprise. I can get you a bottle. Then, just a little longer, please. Joey, if this is all you had planned, it would be the best date of my life, he told her sweetly. Better than owl watching, she asked. Way better, he confirmed. Then he asked, have you ever tried any medication to sleep? I have a prescription, she told him, but I tried the other night and then I had a panic attack thinking about being under the influence of something. If Tripp's hold tightened on her, and she felt his heart beating rapidly in his chest. I understand. I completely understand. Then she felt his chin on top of her head. I really do, Joe. I was asleep when you came by last night because I haven't been sleeping either. Oh, I didn't realize. She went to pull away to look at him, but he held her tighter. I'm sorry. Is it because of me? She felt him nod and she tightened her hold on him. I'm sorry, Tripp. Is there anything I can do? He let out a huff of air. You could stay with me tonight. Even you being in my guest room would make me feel better. I'm sorry. I understand that you don't want to be afraid to be here. I don't want you to be afraid to be here. It's entirely unfair that you have to be. But I am afraid. I'm sorry, I don't want to add to your worries, but no, she pulled away from him, looking up at him. She thought about her conversation with her dad the night before and told him, I don't want to be left in the dark. If something is affecting you, I want to know. She shook her head, and I'm torn, because on the one hand, I hate that you're not sleeping, and that your focus has been threatened. And on the other, I'm so grateful you care about me. You didn't have to. Oh, he stroked her hair. Believe me, I did. She smiled, searching his face for signs of exhaustion, but there were none. He was as handsome as ever. Her brow furrowed and he asked, what is it? You wear exhaustion better than I do, she determined. He chuckled, well, you wear pink sweatpants better than I do. I don't think that makes us even, she smiled. She winced. If you can believe it, I look better now than before you showed up. I looked positively haggard. Nice try, but I'm not buying it, he said. You couldn't look haggard if you tried. I also notice you have taken us off the topic of what you could do to help me sleep. Oh, she blushed. Can I please think about it? He let out a breath and nodded. Of course. He says, through gritted teeth, she teased. He chuckled. I'm trying to be cool, but I'm not. Not when it comes to you. Her heart fluttered in her chest and she all but gushed. I think you're cool. Grinning, he shrugged. I'll take it. I have things for you though. I like things, she said, but she did not release him, resting her chin against his chest. But I like you more. See, we can be uncool together. Doesn't that sound nice? His hands cupped her head, his dark green eyes looking into hers. It sounds very nice. For a brief moment, she wondered if he was going to kiss her, but he didn't, scrunching his hand in her hair once before releasing it. Squeezing her shoulder with one hand, he reached behind his back and grabbed the bouquet of flowers. For you. I figured the ones I had gotten you must have wilted by now. She smiled as he lowered them to her eyeline and she saw that it was another bouquet of ranunculus. As pastel and perfect as the first. They're beautiful, thank you, she told him. And yes, unfortunately I had to throw out the first bouquet when I got back to the city. If I had been here I might have been able to coax them to live a little while longer, but I promise to take better care of these. He opened his mouth, but seemed to think better of whatever he was going to say. She could guess. Likely he was going to tell her to just take care of herself and not worry about the flowers, but he refrained. So she said, usually I would get out my step stool, but do you think you can reach that vase? He looked where she was pointing and released her, grabbing it easily and setting it down on the counter. She unwrapped the flowers, and pulled her shears out of the drawer, running water to fill the vase. She looked over and saw that Trip was watching her, his eyes warm and appreciative. Her heart fluttered once again. The rest is less exciting, he told her when their eyes met. Grabbing the bag off the floor, he said, your containers. All except for the sticky buns. I'm rationing those. She smiled, there were 8 of them. As I said, Trip agreed, I'm rationing them carefully. She tested the length of one of the stems and decided to cut a bit more, laughing, you don't have to ration, I will make you more. Or I could make you something else. What's your favorite thing? I thought you said you don't want to make me play poorly. They'll have to roll me down the field, Trip teased. I really like muffins. With berries. Mixed berries. Mixed berry muffins. You, my friend, are a very easy customer, she told him as she snipped more stems. She felt him come up behind her, and then his head was lowered to hers, his fingers gently on her waist. You said I didn't need an excuse, right? And no, she stuttered like a fool. Joey, he asked, I don't want to be in the dark either. I mean it, she said. Confessing, you make me nervous, not afraid. His hand left her waist and he smoothed it across her stomach, before locking his arm there, his other arm wrapping around her chest and taking hold of her arm. You've got nothing to be nervous about, he told her. We're going to take everything as slow as you want. I just want to hold you a little more, squeeze you a little, if you'll let me. She nodded, reaching up and taking hold of his wrist. His lips pressed to the back of her head, and keeping his arms locked, he placed the rest of the flowers in the vase. You said you'd let me think about it, she sighed, leaning her cheek against his bicep as he cradled her, but here you are, pushing the odds in your favor. He chuckled, I told you I'd let you think about it, I'm just giving you something to think about. You ate all that pot roast, she asked, trying to grasp onto something that wasn't him. Don't food shame me, Stark, he chided in her ear, unrelenting. She smiled, I'm just taking note of portions for next time. He groaned and his grip tightened on her, I feel like a caveman. Something about you cooking for me. Something about these pink sweatpants. She blushed, her insides gooey, and I was regretting them. Poor babies. Her fingers trailed over his wrist and she felt goosebumps rise, I want to look my best, for you. She looked up, in time to see something flash in his eyes. It was nearly violent, certainly predatory, and she wasn't afraid. She had coaxed it out of its hiding spot on purpose, certain it was there somewhere. And there it was, and there he remained, holding her steadily. The safety of his arms undeniable in spite of that flash in his gaze. The proof of it was in how quickly he mastered himself. He had told her she was expressive, but he was just so. It was written all over his face. He lowered his head and pressed his lips in between her brows. When Trip released her, she pulled out plates and utensils and they each made their plates. She felt Trip's eyes on her as she made hers, so she added a little more, though her stomach felt so small she knew she would not be able to finish it. This smells so good, she told him, though truthfully, as they both sat down. Would you like any wine, or a beer, or anything? Trip shook his head, no, thank you, but if you want something. No, she said, then noted, you don't seem like much of a drinker. At her house he had been given a glass of wine, but she hadn't seen him drink it. He had drunk water instead. And at the gallery opening, she had seen him sip his champagne, but hardly. I'm not, he agreed, shrugging, I always wanted to do this. I knew I had to take it seriously. Where I grew up, guys who knew they weren't leaving, some of them would show up hungover to practice. 1 or 2 would show up drunk. I knew if I wanted to get out I'd have to do things differently. So I never really drank during the season, still don't. Then I never really got in the habit in the off-season. I never wanted to work myself out of a hole. So, it's just not really a part of my life. But, a beautiful day on the lake. I'll have a beer. A great bottle of wine. I'll have a glass. What about you? I will never have a beer, she confirmed, making him smile. I love a glass of champagne, I'll have a glass of wine, but I've always been a cheap date. Well, he shrugged, you're itty-bitty. Then nodded towards her plate, and you'll stay that way if you don't eat. Looking at her plate, She cut a piece of cauliflower and popped it into her mouth, the melange of spices settling on her tongue. It was warm and aromatic, and she felt her stomach rumble for the first time in days. She took another bite, munching on it happily. She looked at Trip and he looked away quickly, digging into his own. "You won't spook my appetite," she promised. "I'm not taking any chances," he said, but he looked at her and smiled. Then he said, "So, you don't have to tell me where, but are we going somewhere?" She nodded, "Yes, we will be leaving the apartment." Such specific wording, he narrowed his eyes. She giggled, "All will be revealed soon." They finished their dinners. Trip had another helping. She didn't, but for the first time in days she finished her first. They put the leftovers in her fridge, following Trip's determination that they would be safer there. She brought him into her living room, adding another log to the fire. "I have permission to be here, by the way," Trip told her as they settled onto the couch. She looked at him as he pulled her legs halfway over his and he explained, "Will spoke to me at practice, today." "Oh," she nodded, "He came by this morning to see how I was doing, and explained that he had asked you to stay away. Though, he seemed off." "Did he say anything to you?" Trip scratched his cheek, "Yeah. So? He's pretty pissed at me. You know how I told you I needed to know who it was in the restaurant?" She nodded. "I asked Sophia's help finding it out." She asked, "Will Sophia?" Trip smirked, "Don't let either of them hear you say that." She smiled, "Oh, they both know, they are just being stubborn about it." "Okay. Well. Sophia saw me after, so why is Will upset with you about that?" She already knew. Trip swallowed, "Because I asked Sophia to satisfy my concern. But, it has sort of spiraled with her. We don't have to talk about this right now." She shifted so that she was more upright. "No, I want to." "What do you mean it has spiraled?" "Well, Sophia started digging a little," Trip told her. "And what did she find?" she asked. Trip smoothed her hair. "She found that your mom isn't the only woman he's hurt." "Oh," she said, feeling the food unsettling in her stomach. "Oh, that's awful. How many people has he hurt?" "I don't know, sweetheart," Trip told her. "Too many." Her chest ached and she nodded, "I suppose it makes sense. If he could hurt my mom." "Yeah," Trip agreed. "He's a monster. And Will doesn't want him anywhere near Sophia. Neither do I, for that matter." Her brow knit, "Of course not. Why? She wants to expose him." Trip nodded and she shook her head, "But, oh gods, no wonder Will was out of his mind. He must be terrified for her." Trip agreed, "I think so. Seems like they got into it last night, but he didn't say much. He blames me for setting her on the path. Maybe he's right too. But telling Sophia Whitecross she can't do something isn't going to convince her of anything." He said it familiarly, like he knew Sophia. "Have you been hanging out with her?" she wondered. "Yeah," Trip said, "her and Bridge kind of took me in." "Bridge?" She let out a weak breath. "You've seen her, too?" "They're kind of a package deal," Trip said, smirking, "It's cute as hell. Your brothers sure know how to pick 'em." "It's a family trait," she said, unable to keep the edge from her voice. Trip looked at her. "You're okay with it, right? I mean, you're not jealous, are you?" "Of course I'm jealous," she sighed. "I miss Bridget so much and Sophia and I clicked so well, and you get to see them and I don't because I've been sworn to it on pain of death." Trip looked at her and laughed, and her lips popped open. "I'm sorry, sweetheart," he laughed, "but that is not what I meant by jealous. I meant me hanging out with other girls." "Oh," she laughed, "No. I'm not jealous in that way." "Good," he said. "And I am sorry that your brother's stubbornness means you can't spend time with them, or at least Bridget. I can understand why you miss her. Though, she's a terrible gossip and won't tell me what happened between her and JJ." "What's the story?" "Are you a gossip?" she asked him. "I won't tell anyone except my mom," he promised, "and when she tells everyone else, she'll get the names wrong." She smiled, "That seems all right then. So, JJ and Bridget were friends starting at the beginning of middle school. In 8th grade, they started dating." "8th grade?" Trip asked. "Like when they were 14. "Yes," she confirmed. "I think at first, They were really just best friends. JJ had always had a million best friends, he's so social, but Will and I were always his favorite people to do anything with. And then Bridget came along and she became his favorite person. We all thought he was going to be a bit of a player, but he wasn't. They started dating and that was that. He was done for. She seems so steady, Trip said, and JJ seems so frenetic. What were they like together? Just like that, she reasoned. They'd be studying at the kitchen table, and JJ would be walking around it, tossing an apple back and forth, trying to distract her, and she was just unflappable. He made her so happy, though. He would make her laugh so hard she had tears running down her face. And as boisterous as he was always steady about her. JJ is remarkably loyal. People don't think about it because he's so fun, and Will is so solid that it makes anyone look flimsy in comparison. JJ is loose with his words sometimes, but not his actions. He was so certain of her. And then, Trip prompted. And then they went off to university, Joey said. They were both meeting new people, going out, having fun. But he is more social than her. So it seemed like he was maybe having more fun than she was. Did he cheat on her? Trip asked. No, she told him firmly. No. He would never have cheated on her, it would never have occurred to him. Trip's brow furrowed. To hide did she cheat? No, she said. But, she thought he did. There were some pictures some girl posted, we all agreed they did not look good. I totally understood why Bridget was upset. JJ understood why she was upset. But it didn't matter. Bridget broke up with him. And? Trip asked. And what? She wondered. Then what happened? Trip asked. Then they were broken up, she said. Trip's eyes closed for a moment and then he pulled away from her. No, I'm sorry. That's the story. She broke up with him because he was caught on camera acting inappropriately, or at least appearing to, and 8 years later he's still punishing her for it. Well, her stomach twisted, feeling disloyal, sort of. Look. You have to understand, JJ, to understand. Do you understand? Trip asked, because as far as I can see that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. She sighed, I can understand better than you. There are things. JJ just, from his perspective, Bridget abandoned their relationship, abandoned him, and he never would have done that. Well, she probably never would have been caught on camera with some guy, Trip pointed out. Hey, she chided. Trip stroked her hair, I'm sorry. But I'm pissed at him. You want to talk about sitting in one place, that poor girl is stuck on him. JJ is stuck too, she said. And believe me, it kills me to see it. I have argued your side past the point of comfort. I hate arguing with him, and I argued with him about this less than 2 weeks ago. There is nothing you or I or anyone can do to reason this away for him. She abandoned him. Trip's eyes found hers, that's a specific word you've used 3 times now. She held his gaze, yes, it is. You're the baby, Trip swallowed, your mom is not JJ and Will's. Not by birth, no, she confirmed. But in every way that matters. Trip winced, I don't doubt she has been a wonderful mom to them. But this is proof that she has not been a mom to them in every way that matters. That is not a comment on her, by the way. I'm sure she's done more to fix it than almost anyone else could. She could take them in as her own. She can't erase them being abandoned in the first place, though, can she? No, she admitted, but she tried. Trip leaned his forehead against hers. Gods, it's no wonder family is so important to all of you. You've worked hard enough for it. They have, she said. They're all I've ever known. I don't remember ever working at it at all. Then she added, but, my dad thinks a part of me understood anyway. Yeah? Trip asked her. She nodded, we talked last night. After you dropped me off. He was checking in on you. Trip gave her a soft smile. Always, she agreed. He told me he trusts my judgment when it comes to you, though, because I've always been so careful. So you have a special radar, Trip reasoned. JJ has abandonment issues. What does Will have? She thought about it for a moment and then determined, Will would rather have nothing than the wrong thing. Trip thought about it for a moment, and said, well, that's hard to argue against. It is, she agreed, until it makes him as unforgiving as JJ, or as frightened as me. There is nothing wrong with being careful. There is nothing wrong with not wanting to be left. There is nothing wrong with wanting the right thing. Until. Do you ever say this to them? Trip asked. In my way, she said. But they would never tell me not to be careful. How can I tell them not to protect themselves when all I want is to protect them as they've always protected me? Trip gave her a soft smile. Gods, I like you. She smiled. That's what you took from that? Trip nodded and she teased, then I must have told it right. Trip chuckled and pulled her close, wrapping her in his arms. If you can believe it, I'm still rooting for all of them. I believe it, she told him, because so am I. They stayed like that for some time. The fire crackled, her eyes closed. Nuzzling into him, she said, don't let me fall asleep. Joey, sweetheart, you fell asleep an hour ago, Trip told her. Her eyes found the clock and she saw it was 10 o'clock. It's time, she smiled. No, no, he held her tighter, go back to sleep. She thought about it for a moment, wondering, did you fall asleep? No, Trip admitted. Clearly he had thought about lying to her and then had thought better of it. Come on, she said. It's worth it, I promise. When he loosened his grip, she eased out of his arms and stood up, offering him her hand. They bundled up and headed down in the elevator, past the night doorman. She looked around for Trip's car, but he led her to a navy blue Land Rover instead. This is handsome, she said as he opened the door for her. I needed something a bit sturdier, he told her. Apparently winter is a thing up here. When he got into his seat, he turned towards her with a bright smile. All right. Where are we going? You can take a left at the stop sign, she told him. Are you serious? He asked with a laugh. You still won't tell me. I am getting a little concerned. This air of mystery is going to lead to disappointment, she admitted. Tilting her head to the side, indulge me a little longer, though. His eyes wandered over her and then he shook his head, sighing. I'd say yes to anything with that face, he said almost under his breath as he turned the car on. She directed him on a turn-by-turn basis. She had him pull over to the side of the road half a block from where they were going, giddy with how excited he was. Though it was still there, she felt him grow more serious as she led him down what appeared to be an alley. More aware, maybe. In any other alley in the world she would have been more fearful than he was, but this one she took his hand and pulled him further down it. We are going to a rave, then, he asked. She laughed, you guessed it. Walking to an unmarked steel door, she rang the bell. A moment later, the door opened, and a familiar face answered it. Well, if it isn't Miss Joanna, Rodney greeted her. It's a bit early for you. I'm trying to be respectful of his bedtime, she teased. Trip, please meet Rodney. Rodney. Trip held out his hand. Good to meet you. Rodney shook his hand, his eyes widening. We'll know you're here with her. Rodney, she chided. Well, I'm sorry, Missy, but you've never brought a boy that wasn't one of your brothers here before, Rodney said to her, then to Trip, not that that makes you special, unless she says so. No matter how good that arm of yours is. He is special, she confirmed. Can we please come in? It's very cold out here and I'm afraid Trip thinks I'm going to sacrifice him in a cult ritual. Afraid is putting it strongly, Trip noted, suspicious though, sure. Rodney grinned and stepped to the side. She pulled Trip in and thanked Rodney and then she brought him towards an elevator, selecting the 5th floor. As the doors closed behind him, Trip asked, pulling her close to him, so just so I'm clear, how many buildings in this city have guards on bound to protect you? She smiled, a fair few. His cheeks were rosy from the cold and his eyes were bright with mirth and he was so handsome it was a good thing he was holding her upright. All she wanted was to stand on her tiptoes and kiss him, but she didn't, enjoying instead the feel of his admiring gaze on her. Even that hour did you some good, he said, brushing underneath her eye with his finger. Imagine what a whole night would do. There might only be one of you standing in front of me, she noted. He looked at her in concern and she stroked his cheek. I'm only teasing. The elevator doors opened and Trip looked away from her, his jaw dropping. A heist, he hissed. Seemed right for a second date, she confirmed, leading him off the elevator. Turning left there was a sign, the Joanna and Tywin Lannister collection. There had been a lot of back and forth on the name. The museum had wanted her grandfather's name first, but she had held steady. Her grandmother had cultivated the collection, he had been its steward. In all other things, he might want his name first, but here, he would have happily followed her lead. "This is the lion's share of my great-grandparents' art collection," she told him as they walked into the gallery. She saw another familiar guard and she waved at them. They waved back but stepped into the other room, giving them privacy. They were always so wonderful about that here, whenever she came in at night. "It's your bridge," Trip all but shouted, as his eyes fixed on the centerpiece of the collection. "Now do you see why I called mine a sketch?" she asked as Trip pulled her closer. Trip's eyes wandered over it, taking in the details, a small smile on his face. His hand squeezed hers. "I can understand why you draw it," he said. She nodded. "I've always loved it. It was always mine and my mom's favorite painting in the collection. I started drawing it when I was 6. And then that year my grandpa Tywine, my great-grandfather, he gave me pastels so that I could perfect this spot here." "And you've been drawing it ever since," he said. She nodded. "I'm surprised you don't have this in your apartment, or at Winterfell." "Maybe someday," she said. "But for now it's nice to come and visit and know that other people are doing the same." Trip smiled at her. "Do you have any of your pastels of it?" She nodded. "Yes, he kept some of my better ones and framed them and hung them in his private study." Trip looked at her and she told him, "He passed away 2 years ago, and he bequeathed the entirety of his art collection to me." "That's quite a thing," Joey, Trip said. It was, she agreed. "Would you like to look around?" Trip pointed at a painting across the room. "Where was that one?" "In the powder room of the foyer," she told him. "In the what?" Trip asked. She giggled, pulling him closer. "You wouldn't believe the places he kept things. The appraisers had such a treasure hunt. This collection was really my great-grandmother's. He lost her too early, and wanted to be surrounded by the things she loved." Trip pointed at another one. "That sort of looks like one of the pieces you had at the gallery." "This was my inspiration," she confirmed. "The study of it is in my apartment." "You've got a good eye." "With some things," he agreed. They walked through her family's galleries, stopping at some works so that he could ask her about them, just looking at some others. "Do you have a little more in you?" she asked, knowing that others did not have the same maintained enthusiasm for art that she did. "Show me everything," Trip grinned. She brought him to the staff elevator, pulling out her set of keys, and brought him to the second level of storage. She scanned her card that let them into the private storage area, and brought Trip inside. There were racks and racks of works not on display. Treasures, but lesser ones. They would rotate these out, sometimes lending them towards other exhibitions if they fit with the theme. "This is unbelievable," Trip said as she pulled out the middle rack, finding a landscape she had wanted to show him. "Gods, that's gorgeous, looks like home." She smiled. It was painted near Acorn Hall, when the artist was staying there painting portraits of the family. "If I can say something not so nice. A first time for everything," Trip noted. "I've seen the portraits." She scrunched her nose. "He should have stuck to landscapes." Trip chuckled. "It is a beauty. He captured it perfectly." She nodded, venturing, "I really love the colors in it. A lot of landscapes from that time are very pastel, but this is so rich and earthy. It would look great in your front hall." Trip was nodding along and then stopped and turned to look at her. Shaking her head, she said, "Or not this one, if you don't like it enough for that. But we could spend some time finding the right ones. I just thought this would fit so well there." "So you were serious about the heist, then?" Trip asked. "Well, you don't think I would steal something that didn't belong to me, do you?" She quoted one of her favorite movies. Trip chuckled and she promised, "We will do everything the right way. And you don't have to make any decisions tonight. I just wanted to show you so that you could start thinking about it." "Joey," Trip said. "This is so thoughtful." It was a stark tray. She could always sense when a but was coming. "But I can't take one of these paintings," he told her. "Well, no," she agreed, purposefully misunderstanding. "If they were this size, I think you would really want 3. "Joey," Trip said. She started. "I mean, you don't have to, but why not?" It is just sitting here in storage. You could give it a life. And if you were uncomfortable with it as a gift, we could make it a loan. We can draw up the paperwork and everything. Daddy made me do that when I let the boys have their pick. Trip looked at her for a moment and then asked, which one of you was he representing? She laughed, all of us. He made us formally waive the conflict. Trip chuckled, of course. Then he scratched his cheek, look, this is such a wonderful offer. I know how much this collection means to you, and it means something to me that you would want to let me have a part of it, even if just for a little while. But I want the things in my home to mean something to me. Oh, she nodded, her stomach knotting, right, of course. It was too soon. She had gotten ahead of herself. Only crazy people offered art worth hundreds of thousands of dollars to someone on a second date. She wasn't a mafia boss in a romance novel. It was too much. Which is why I asked if you take commissions, he said. What? She asked. Trip smiled, I know you thought I was kidding, but I wasn't. But, she started, these paintings are by some of the most well-renowned artists in the world. I know, he agreed, then shrugged, but you're my favorite artist. Trip, she gushed. I'm serious, he said, so I'll ask you once again if you take commissions. I told you I would make you anything you wanted, she reminded him. But you can always change your mind, she gestured around, all of this will be here if you change your mind or come to your senses. Trip chuckled, I wouldn't hold your breath. Then more seriously, he said, but I hope you know how much it means to me that you would let me have a piece of them. She felt her eyes smart and she nodded. Throughout the horrible battle for the collection, that's all anyone had seemed to refer to it. This, that. The art. The assets. But it was them. It was her great-grandfather having half a dozen studies from her spanning a decade in his private study, where priceless works had once hung. It was the loving way her great-grandmother had reassembled the original set of prints that had been sold off one by one in the 20s as war set in. It was the receipts from trips across the narrow sea, where two canvases could mean anything until you saw the price paid. She was standing in their history, with a boy who seemingly had every intention of being her future. A boy who understood. I do, she promised. They pushed the rack back in place and she made sure everything was put away and locked, and then they head back out. So you come here when you can't sleep, he asked. It was one of the conditions of the loan, she said, that I could come visit any time I wanted. I'm here more than I like to admit. Would you bring me back sometime, he asked. Anytime, she agreed. Instead of heading back out the side entrance, she took him out the front. They walked hand in hand down the large stone steps. As he led her, she felt something hit her cheek. Looking up, she saw that snow had begun to fall. The first snow. It fell in soft, thick snowflakes, like it could not wait to coat the world. She hadn't missed it after all. Trip had turned around when she stopped, a step down but still taller than her. She smiled at him, but he did not smile back. His eyes were on her lips, and he went to brush a snowflake off of them, and then kissed her instead. She had only ever dated kind, gentle boys, but none of their kisses were quite so tender as his. He had a confidence they had lacked, and so there was no hesitation amidst the sweetness. As inevitable as the kiss had been, it was entirely on purpose, and she gave into it, into him, memorizing the feeling of his lips against hers, all the while knowing she could feel them anytime she wanted. Her arms wrapped around his neck, and when he smiled she kissed the dimple that had been winking at her since the moment they met. When they pulled away, she was smiling widely, and so was he. His arm wrapped around her back and he swung her off her feet, setting her on the step beside him before they continued on. So he said, as they got into his car, where to? She had been thinking about it all night, and said, can you please take me home? Even in the dark she could see his face start to fall, and she explained, I would like to pick up some things if I am going to sleep at your house. Trip all but dove across the seat to kiss her once again, kissing her cheeks and her forehead until she was giggling, trying to catch his lips on hers. On the ride to her apartment, they talked about what sort of art he might like in his home. She had been right about his preferences. He favored landscapes, though said he would take a self-portrait of her and hang it so it was the first thing anyone saw when they came into his home. He had her laughing the whole way until she was breathless, and she hurried as quickly as she could to pack up some things. Try as she might, she was not a low-maintenance girl, and so she pulled together a toiletry bag with skincare and makeup for the morning and deodorant and a little perfume and a toothbrush. She packed pajamas and clothes for the morning, and then she grabbed the book she had been reading, and her sketchbook. A part of her wondered if she should tell someone where she was going. Her family, particularly her brothers, had a habit of dropping by unannounced. She left a message with her doorman. It did not seem entirely appropriate to send out a message to the family chat that she would be spending the night at a man's apartment, but she did not want them to worry if someone were to show up either. Trip was waiting for her in the lobby, and took her bag from her before offering her his hand. They walked the couple of blocks to his house, the snow falling in earnest. It was so quiet, and she realized that for the first time in days, so was her mind. "Can I get you anything to drink?" he asked her as they got inside, taking off their coats and shoes. "Do you want some tea to warm up?" "No, thank you," she yawned, luxuriating in the warmth of his home. "Would it be alright if I went to bed?" Of course, Trip agreed. "Come on up." She followed him up the stairs, a gorgeous runner underfoot. "So," he said, pointing towards 2 rooms, "these 2 share a bathroom but they aren't set up yet." Then lead her towards another, turning on the light, "but this has an en suite, and it should have everything you need." Blushing, he said, "My mom said I should sort of go room by room, not try to do it all at once." She smiled. "My mom said the same, when I moved into my apartment. And then we just went crazy instead." Trip chuckled. "Sounds about right." She leaned in and looked at the room, and he did the same. There was a queen bed, with a wicker bed frame and a cozy-looking green and cream plaid comforter. It had a very pretty bay window, where one day she would suggest he put an overstuffed armchair for reading. Realizing something, she looked out in the hallway, counting the rooms. "Is this your room?" she asked, remembering he had said he had a guest room. This seemed like it must be what he was referring to, since he didn't seem like the type to resort to a trick like that. No, mine is upstairs," he told her. "Oh," she nodded, "that makes sense." She made eye contact with his chest, looking up, until she saw his Adam's apple bob, and then further, until their eyes met. He held out his hand and she placed hers in it, and wordlessly he turned out the light and led her back into the hall. They walked up the stairs and quickly she realized that his bedroom was not just on the 3rd floor, it was the 3rd floor. It was handsome, and cozy, all wood panels and soft-looking linens. There was a little seating area, and what was sure to be a wonderful closet and bathroom. But most awing, like the kitchen, there was a wall of floor-to-ceiling windows, but a good half of the ceiling itself was made of glass too. She stepped underneath it and watched the snow fall. "How long did it take you to buy this house after you saw this?" she asked him. "The time it took for me to get downstairs," he admitted. She laughed. "I can imagine." She realized then a pattern. The car he had wanted since he was a boy, and the handsome cut of his clothes. The sense of purpose he had when choosing and filling his home. He liked the finer things, there was no denying it, but it was in a way she understood. A desire to surround himself with things he loved and enjoyed. It was the kind of sensibility that would allow him to value her paintings above all others. "I want to stay with you," she told him. A smile overtook his face, but he teased, "It wasn't really fair, showing you this." She laughed. "I don't care what room we stay in. I'll sleep in the kitchen if you want to. I just want to be with you." She stepped towards him, smoothing her hands up his chest and took hold of his cheeks, and whispered, "But please don't make me sleep in the kitchen." "I would never make you sleep in the kitchen," he promised. He kissed her again, but made no move towards the bed. She was grateful for that. She was ready to sleep in a bed with him, but she was not ready to fall into bed with him, and she was not sure how he knew, she was only glad that he did. "Can I use your bathroom to get changed?" she asked. "Of course," he said, clearing his throat. "I'll change in my closet in case you are done before me." She laughed. "I have to do my skincare, so there is little chance of that." She brought her bag into the bathroom, which had a clawfoot tub and a large shower and his and her sinks. Though he wasn't messy, it was easy to tell which was his, and she set her things down at the other, changing into her pajamas quickly and then pulling out her toiletries. Typically she would sleep wearing a silk bonnet to protect her curls, but that was a bridge too far, so she put a little oil on the ends and then braided it in a loose braid that fell halfway down her back. She brushed her teeth first and then washed her face. There was a knock on the door. "Come in," she called. Trip came in, wearing a pair of flannel pajama pants and a white t-shirt. "Is it okay if I wash up while you do your thing?" he asked. "Of course," she said. He brushed his teeth as she applied toner, and she saw him try to hide a smile while she fanned her face so that it would dry more quickly. "Don't start, or I'll make you do this," she told him. He sputtered out his toothpaste, and then pulled out some face wash, the same kind she had gotten for Will and JJ, and washed his face. She put on one serum, and then pulled out her jade roller. Typically she would use her gua sha, but she thought it might freak him out. Do me," Trip said, sitting on the counter. Grinning, she applied some serum to his face, smoothing it over his nose and the hollows of his cheekbones and under his jaw. She washed the jade roller and then rolled it over his face. "By the gods," Trip closed his eyes, "I'll sleep here." He leaned his head back against the mirror. "Trip," she squealed, "I can't reach." He pulled her between his legs, and she continued her attentions. He all but kicked his leg out when she rolled it along his jaw. "Well, now I know what to get you," she told him. He grinned, "I won't say no." He kept her company while she finished up, and then there was nothing to do but go back into his room. "Which side is yours?" she wondered. It was less easy to tell than the bathroom. "That side," he said. It was the side closer to the door, and she asked, "Really?" "Really," he said. She nodded, and went over to the other side, lifting up the covers and getting into bed. It was a delicious bed. The comforter had a perfect weight to it and the sheets were soft and creamy. Trip turned out the light and then got into bed on the other side. She turned to her left, but the pillow was so fluffy she couldn't even see him. He was so far away. Determined not to mind, she closed her eyes. And then rolled on her back. And then to her right before going back again. She waited another moment. She could feel that he was still awake. His breath was not steady enough to be asleep. "Trip?" she asked. "Yes, Joey," he asked. "Are you very proprietary over your side of the bed?" she wondered, "or would you be open to sharing?" "Get over here," he exulted as though he had been dying to. She tried to do just that, but it was the biggest bed in the world. "Why are you so far away?" she asked. He chuckled and then his arm reached out and hooked around her, dragging her across the bed, until he settled her against him. Trip let out a sigh. "That's better." She giggled into his neck, snuggling into him. His arm took her legs and drew them over him and then he twisted towards her, wrapping her in his arms. "That's better," she breathed. She yawned. "You didn't kiss me good night." The smile was clear in his voice, when he said, "I'll kiss you good morning." She was going to protest, really she was, but she closed her eyes instead. When she opened them, it was still dark. She was on top of Trip, but his arms were around her tightly, so she was fairly certain he had pulled her there. He was still sound asleep, and she lifted slightly so she could look at him. He was so handsome, she wanted to wake him up just to tell him so, but he hadn't been sleeping either, and she was not going to get in the way of it now. She looked around 4 o'clock. Certain that it would be 1 o'clock in the morning and she would have the rest of the night to contend with, and blinked when she saw the numbers. 6:23 a.m. She had slept through the whole night. She had not woken once. She could not remember the last time that had happened. When she had not even had to think about falling asleep, when she had just drifted off. Carefully, she detached herself from Trip. She went into the bathroom and brushed her teeth and put on some deodorant and perfume before pulling her sweater over her pajamas. Grabbing her book and sketchbook, she tiptoed out of the room and headed downstairs. She was grateful there was a whole floor between them, because she was not graceful, particularly in the early morning, and made a bit of noise as she put the kettle on and found the tea she liked. As the water boiled, she looked out the window towards his backyard. It had snowed all night. The whole city would be blanketed in it. It would be good for the game on Sunday. They were playing a team from dawn. It almost wasn't fair. As the kettle whistled, she hurried back and poured herself a cup of tea, bringing it into the living room. She settled onto the couch, turning on the light and opening her book as she sipped her tea. She could have cried. The words actually made sense on the page. For days it was like every time she had looked at a book the letters had rearranged themselves to be illegible. She knew that it was just a profound exhaustion, but it had felt rotten in her soul. Like there was something fundamentally wrong with her. She had loved reading for as long as she could remember, and it had felt like something had been taken from her. But it was back. Settling into her book, she did not notice the sun starting to rise. She felt a warm, steady hand on her shoulder, and she looked up to find Trip there. "Good morning," she smiled. "Good morning," he grinned down at her. "Please tell me you slept." "All night," she promised. "Did you?" "All night," he agreed. "Can I get you anything?" "No, thank you," she gestured to her teacup. "I made myself at home." He stroked her hair. "Good." Then said, "I was going to sneak a workout in." "Oh, of course," she said. "Please don't let me disrupt your routine." "Do you want me to go?" "No, I want you to stay right here," he said, grabbing a blanket and draping it over her. "Okay," she smiled, then reminded him, "I do believe I was promised a kiss." "You know," he leaned down, taking her chin in his hand, "I think you're right about that." Their lips met and her heart fluttered as she felt warmth run through her body. "I'll be back soon," he said. Then said, "Well, like an hour?" "Or?" She laughed, "Do whatever you would usually do." "I am very good at entertaining myself." "Yeah, but I want to entertain you," he said, then shook his head, and kissed her again and then opened a door that she realized must lead to a basement. She read for a little while longer and then the sun was up in earnest and she moved over to the other side of the couch where she could see the back garden, covered in snow. She began to sketch, focusing on the sun hitting the wrought iron. It was an easy thing to capture with paint and so much more challenging in pencil. "Joey," she heard. Blinking, she looked up and saw Trip there, grinning at her. He must have showered because his hair was wet and his cheeks were pink. He was wearing a grey sweater and jeans. "You're dressed," she said. Looking down at herself, "I'm not." "No," he grinned, "but when I came up from my workout you were really in it, so I showered and it seemed silly to put pajamas back on." "Oh," she nodded, "of course." She looked at her drawings, looking for the bridge, but she had not drifted. She had just been focused, like he said. And asked, "How was your workout?" "Much like any other," he said, taking a seat next to her and pulling her back so that she was leaned against his chest. He sipped his coffee, and his fingers tucked a lock of hair behind her ear. "Thank you for staying last night. I feel better than I have in days." "So do I," she said. "Thank you for having me." "You don't move in your sleep," he told her. "You do," she told him. "I woke up on top of you." "I'm sorry I missed that," he said, making her laugh. "What were you planning to do today?" She felt nerves, which was silly because she knew how much he wanted to spend time with her. "Well," she said, "I was thinking of going out to Winterfell. The dogs love to play in the snow and I feel like I haven't gotten enough fresh air over the past week, so I was thinking of taking them for a walk in the woods. And, well, my parents have a lot of my art in storage out there, so I was thinking of looking through to see if I thought there was anything that you would like." "Not that. I'm happy to paint you something, I just thought I would see." Trip pushed her braid to the side and then his lips were against the back of her neck. Her eyes closed, and she leaned her head forward until her forehead touched her knees. Trip's hand went underneath her pajamas, to touch the skin of her back as he continued to kiss the back of her neck. "Do you want company?" he asked against her skin. "Please don't ask me things while you're doing that," she pleaded, feeling his warm breath on her, making her shiver. "I'll say yes to anything." "Fine then," Trip said, his lips wandering into the crook of her neck. "I'll ask you again in a minute." She whimpered and he pulled her fully into his lap, tilting her head back, and then his lips were at the front of her neck. "Trip," she sighed. He kissed his way up her neck to her lips and her hands sought his soft hair as his wandered her back and gripped her thigh. It was him who broke the kiss, and he blinked hard, his brow furrowed. "Is everything okay?" she asked. He chuckled, "Everything is perfect, I just need to calm down." "Oh," she blushed. Trying to take his mind off things, she said, "You had a question." "Yes," he agreed, "I did. And I don't remember what it was." "I think you were asking if you could come to Winterfell with me," she noted. "And the answer is, of course you can." then realized it was Saturday and asked, "You guys don't have a team meeting today?" Trip shook his head, "No. Mormont told us to take the day and get our acts together." Oh, she winced. "Unfortunately, I know the exact tone he used when he said that." "Yeah," Trip agreed, "it's not my favorite, but we deserved it." She stroked his cheek. "Maybe some fresh air will do you good, too." "I know what else would help me," Trip said. She tilted her head to the side and he said, "Another good night's sleep." She smiled. "Are you inviting me back already?" "I'm inviting you back already," he confirmed. "You really are Anku. I can make us a yummy dinner, and will Mormont kill you if you have a muffin tomorrow morning? There's a grocery store we can stop at on the way back from Winterf." Trip cut her off with a kiss. It took them a little while to get themselves out the door to go to Winterfell, but when her parents saw her, she knew it was not all in her head. He was good for her. Like a good night's sleep, and a bit of fresh air, and a warm cup of tea. He soothed her from the inside out, until everyone could see it. The end.